All right, we might get started in the interest of time. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for the people who have already joined, and obviously thank you to our speakers who I'll get to in a second. So the topic of today's webinar is continuous intelligence and why it's even more important in a post-COVID world. As we see the real acceleration of digital transformation post-COVID, it's about how do we get continuous intelligence into that new world and make sure that we're monitoring the environments and making sure the environments are secure as we move forward at such a rapid rate. And I guess from our perspective, we've got two great speakers joining us today, of which I've had the pleasure to have a fair bit of involvement with, and I'm really excited about the areas that they're going to cover. So I get to introduce them, and I don't want this to make this about me at all. So the quicker we get onto them, the better. So we're joined by one of our key customers here, and Matthew Ellis from Macquarie Bank. Matthew's the head of engineering at Macquarie Bank, and he's been in the industry for about 15 years. I'm not sure that there's an area of the globe that he hasn't worked in. He's worked as an engineer, product owner, architect, and a broad range of financial technologies right across the world. So he's currently with Macquarie. He's their head of engineering for their banking and financial services group. He leads a team of approximately 600 DevOps engineers and architects who are leading, building, running the largest or the leading digital bank, in Australia. And they're servicing about 1.6 million customers. And I guess one of the things I'm so excited about, I've been fortunate enough to have in-depth engagement with Matthew and the broader Macquarie team. And one of the reasons we were so excited to have them speak about this topic is some of the things that they're doing from a digital transformation perspective and a public cloud and multi-cloud strategy. So really excited to have them on board. Joining us as well from a Sumo Logic side is Bruno Kurtic. And he's our founding VP of Strategy and Solutions. So Bruno's been with us basically since day one. I'll let Bruno cover off his background because it's probably too broad for me to go into. And like I said, I'll throw it over to Bruno and Matthew because we want to make this more about the customer experience and how we're partnering with Macquarie Bank. So without further ado, I'll throw to Bruno. And Matthew, and if you have, from a housekeeping perspective, if you have questions, please throw them in the chat. We'll get to them. We'll do a Q&A at the end based on the questions we get through. So please don't be shy. And I hope you get a lot of value out of this. So Bruno and Matthew, over to you.
Thank you, Sam. I'm going to share some slides. Somebody give me a thumbs up when you can see them. All right, great. All right, well, thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm excited for you to hear from Matt. I've been working with Matt's team over several years now, and they've been really pushing the envelope on digital transformation and continuous intelligence and sort of adoption of clouds. And Matt will tell you all of this in a few minutes. I've benefited from learning from them. This is my favorite activity in my job is to spend time with our customers and learn from them. This is why we built this company, and it is customers like Macquarie Bank that drive our innovation and how we build our software. What I want to do for just a few minutes is basically kind of talk about the concept of continuous intelligence and what that's all about and how we think about it. It's an evolving concept. It's being adopted by enterprises around the world, but I want to share my perspective on it. So, digital transformation is all around us today. And oftentimes people talk about digital transformation as the latest fad in the vendor community, technology vendor community. And but it's really not. Digital transformation has been a fundamental course of business since the early 90s, right? When we were introduced to the World Wide Web. And it was the case actually at that time that banks were some of the early adopters of these digital technologies. And when we benefited from online banking, long time ago at that time, digital transformation meant you have a website and you can process transaction on a website. We moved quite a bit from then. And this process of digital transformation continues on, and it's going to continue on as long as we have digital technologies. It's a fundamental part of every industry, of every business. There is no more business that's not digital. And what happens when an enterprise becomes a digital business, what really happens is that they become a software business. Many of you have probably heard the quote called, that states, "Software is eating the world," stated by Mark Andreessen, founder of Netscape and inventor of Mosaic browser, which is what it really means is that enterprises that are adopting digital business models must write their own software to compete in their industries. You can no longer compete in your industries in digital business models by buying off-the-shelf software. It plays a role, but you have to write your own software, finely tuned and adapted to your business model to compete better and be competitive in your industry. And in order to do that, several transformations are required. First transformation is the technology transformation. Enterprises go from traditional software development models like waterfall into agile and DevOps. And this is designed to ensure that we can evolve our software much quicker, moving that evolution from years or months to days or hours, which gives us ability to evolve it much faster. Oftentimes, and most of the times, the software is moved to run in the cloud because the cloud enables you to evolve your hardware at the same rate as you're evolving your software. If you're going to evolve your software on an hourly or daily basis, you also need to be able to pick the right hardware to run that software on as frequent of a basis. And the cloud enables you to do that. And also, oftentimes we're re-architecting our applications from traditional multi-tier apps to microservices applications. And the purpose of this is to enable you to evolve that software in a more atomic way. So you can make changes to your software and your digital services in a small incremental way where it doesn't impact large breadth of software, potentially causing issues and challenges in production. The technology transformation is all designed around improving the rate of innovation for digital companies, right? And rate of innovation is the key differentiation in any business model. So if you innovate faster, you're able to be more agile and you're able to compete better in your industry. The next transformation is the data transformation. And this one is all about leveraging the data and the signals that you get from running your digital services to learn from them and improve how you evolve your products and services through digital software technologies. When you evolve your services on an hourly or daily basis, you need to be able to cope with real-time data. These decisions are real-time. You need to be able to take signals from your full digital service stack, understand what it's telling you in real time in order to be able to make those decisions. And real time is more complicated than traditional sort of batch data-oriented processes. You also need to deal with unstructured data. When you evolve your software and your hardware in a continuous basis in real time, you also cannot depend on traditional data warehousing processes and believe that all of your data is going to fit into a set of schemas that you designed months or years ago. So applying analytics to unstructured data is a critical component of being able to read what your data is telling you. And finally, you have to deal with exponential growth of this data, because a lot of this data is actually by nature machine data. And machine data is governed by Moore's law, which means that it's doubling every 18 to 24 months. And that means that the scale of systems and technologies involved in data analysis must be able to cope with that. The transformation in data is important because it makes the evolution of your software more meaningful. You evolve your software, but data tells you how to evolve it right. And the last is the transformation and evolution in people and processes. You have to be able to organize your teams in a much more of a cross-functional way, because most of these agile and high rate of change processes are cross-functional. You need to be able to adopt processes that facilitate cross-functional collaboration, leverage tools that break down the silos, that enable your teams to understand each other's requirements and needs in order to be able to facilitate this high rate of change in your enterprise. Your processes and people and teams and tools have to evolve as well. So these are the three core tenets of what needs to happen to a business when they're becoming a software business in order to become an effective and competitive software business. The way we think about continuous intelligence is the data that's generated by your digital applications or services is the data that's being generated by the entire stack of that application. And that means that it begins all the way down at the infrastructure layer. Your cloud infrastructure, your on-premise infrastructure, your networks, your systems, your virtual machines, your hosts, your containers, your Kubernetes systems, whatever it might be that you're managing your microservices with, moving up to the application components, your databases, your app servers, web servers, all of that technology that makes up a digital service or an application, all the way to the custom code that your teams are writing in order to facilitate a digital business model. But it doesn't stop there. It moves left into the software development lifecycle and how that software is built. It moves up to the edge to their content delivery networks, because content delivery networks are used to accelerate your digital services, and you need to manage how they're actually performing on behalf of your users. And all of this data communicates various things like key performance indicators, service level indicators, events, things like user logged on, or I had an error or a failure somewhere. Transactions, not just financial transactions, but transactions of all kinds. Somebody logging into an application is typically a transactions, and all of the metadata that describes what all of these things are coming from and doing. This data is real time, it's high volume, and it's useful to a variety of business use cases. It is very useful to operational intelligence use cases where your DevOps, IT ops, SRE teams are taking care of reliability, availability, performance of your digital services to deliver excellent customer experience to your users. It's very useful to security use cases, to security intelligence, your DevSecOps teams, your SOC teams, your CISO, in order to detect threats, to defend your customer data, to defend your service and the reputation of the company. It's extremely useful to business teams, product management teams, marketing teams, financial teams, in order to understand the behavior of users, behavior of products, costs, and all of these things that are important in running a business. And this is what we talk, what we call continuous intelligence. Continuous intelligence is leveraging new real-time data across an enterprise in order to drive success in digital business. And this is what most of our customers do with our technology. And I now want to spend the next 20 minutes listening to Matt Ellis, who's actually been practicing this for multiple years at Macquarie. And he's going to give us his perspective on how he leverages continuous intelligence. Matt, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bruno. Let me just change over the share here to my side. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for making the time to come along to this morning's webinar. Just give me a thumbs up. That's good on your side, Bruno. Well, yep, all good. All right. So yeah, thanks again for the opportunity, Bruno, to talk a bit about continuous intelligence and what we've been doing at Macquarie. What I wanted to do today, all up, we've got about 20 minutes of content we wanted to get through, but I wanted to spend first a little bit just talking a bit about Macquarie and who we are, just give a bit of context around the business and what we do. I then want to talk a bit about why continuous intelligence has been a really important focus for us, and it will dovetail back into some of those things that Bruno just mentioned in his presentation. And then I want to get into some real detail and talk through some, get into the how we've done this, share some of our learnings, give you some examples, and hopefully give you some concrete stuff to take away back into your own organizations. So just in terms of Macquarie, so for those that aren't familiar, we are a global financial services organization. We're headquartered and we're listed in Australia. We're one of the top 10 companies in Australia, and we have about 15,000 employees spread all over the world. So we're in 31 markets all over the world. And we're in a very, very broad array of different businesses. Very, very diverse company, lots and lots of exciting things going on across Macquarie. One of those particular businesses, and the one that we're going to focus on today, is our banking and financial services business, so what we call BFS internally. And so BFS is a technology-driven Australian retail bank and wealth manager, or in other words, we're a digital bank based in Australia. And we have the technology-driven part here is really important. So you heard Bruno just talk before about this idea of companies and businesses becoming software-driven and software-led. We 100% see ourselves as a software delivery business that happens to operate in financial services. Being a digital bank means that we don't have a physical branch network. We don't have that physical presence that a lot of our competitors have. And so our digital experiences and the way that we deliver those using our software is core to our business. That is 100% a crucial element to our success. So as Sam mentioned earlier, we have 1.6 million customers all around Australia, and we provide all kinds of different products to them. So we have personal banking, so things like credit cards, home loans, bank accounts, and vehicle finance. We have a wealth management business, which is about online share trading, investments, and financial advice. And we also have a business bank who helps small to medium businesses, so cafe owners, restaurant owners, real estate agents, car dealerships, with all of their financial goals and planning. And we do all of that digitally. So once again, we do all of that using our technology. We've been winning a lot of awards. So we're an award-winning digital banking platform. You can go online later and have a look at all of the different things we've been doing and search for that yourself. But we've been investing really heavily in our digital capabilities because obviously we're a digital bank. And we wanted to make sure that people were able to securely manage their money, track their spending, and stay in control of their finances 24/7. And that 24/7 part is actually really important as well when we talk about continuous. We are into continuous intelligence. We are never, there is never an hour or a day of the year where we're offline. We are a 24/7 organization, and we need our tooling and our platforms that support that to be 24/7 as well. So we'll come to that a little bit later in terms of how we think about continuous intelligence. So to summarize, we're a technology-driven company. We're a Macquarie bank, and our purpose is to empower people to innovate and to invest for a better future. So that's a little bit of context just to set the scene about Macquarie. But now what I wanted to do was spend a bit of time talking about why continuous intelligence has been a really important focus for us at Macquarie. And it comes back to this earlier idea that I mentioned around us being a technology-led business. So because we're a technology-led business, the way that we deliver software, the way we deliver digital experiences is absolutely crucial to our success. Now, we've had a very long-standing journey that we've been going through around agile and DevOps. A number of organizations are also on these journeys and at different levels of maturity. But we've been doing this for quite a long time, several years, and been iterating and refining how we do that. And we wanted to have a way that the way that we deliver software needs to be efficient. We need to be able to be smart in how we do that. We need to be responsive to customers and be able to do that in a much more real-time way, and also need to be very precise and methodical in the way that we deliver software. And so that, we need really good continuous intelligence and data and insights around our entire digital platform in order to deliver software that way. Drilling into the DevOps bit a little bit more, because this is obviously the head of engineering, and so this is particularly important for how we deliver software, is this idea of our DevOps principles. So we have 6 DevOps principles that we talk about within Macquarie. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to touch on a few of them because they resonate really strongly with this idea of continuous intelligence. The first one is measure everything. And so this is a call to action for everyone across our organization, that you need to have a data-driven and metrics-driven approach to answering questions. So anytime anytime we're looking at a particular problem, the first thing we want to do is measure it. Get lots and lots of data around that particular question, measure all of the different things that we can find around that particular problem, and then we can come up with really good insights and really good ideas around what we need to do. And that is intelligence, that is using data and turning that into insights. So I'll come back to a little bit later on measure everything and come into some more examples around that. The second one I wanted to touch on was implement small changes frequently. So we are delivering software at a much, much faster rate than we ever have before. And when you're moving with that kind of velocity and delivering software really, really fast to your customers, you have to have really good observability, really good telemetry around your digital environment. Otherwise, you just don't know what's going on at any particular point in time. So being able to move fast, not just make good decisions, but able to move fast, we needed that really good continuous intelligence support as well. And then lastly, at the top, this idea that failure happens, detect, recover, and adapt fast. So we recognize that in a highly complex environment with lots and lots of interconnected services and platforms, things are going to go wrong from time to time. But what's most important there is our ability to spot that when it happens, to detect it when it happens, recover from that really fast, and then learn quickly and evolve our platforms to prevent that from happening again. So this idea of detection and knowing in real time what's going on in your platform is also really important. So measure everything. Data is important, small changes frequently, moving with speed, and real-time insights and detection, I think, are some key things to call out here in terms of our DevOps principles, and the continuous intelligence platform that Sumo Logic provides has really helped us on our DevOps journey. So I wanted to just dive into these a little bit more and talk in a bit more detail. So when we talk about this idea of learning fast and adapting and recovering quickly, one of the things that we've done is we've defined SLOs, or service level objectives, and SLIs, service level indicators, across all of our digital services. So we have a very good relationship with Google and the Google SRE team, and we sent a number of our engineers out there to sort of learn more about this practice. And we brought all of those learnings and insights back into Macquarie, and then we've implemented a whole range of measurements around the customer experience, the availability of the platforms, the performance of the platforms, and built those into Sumo Logic, and that's been really important for us in terms of detectability. So now when we have any issues in our environment, straight away we know about it, we're onto those within seconds, and that focus on building out SLOs and SLIs has also been really important from a continuous intelligence perspective. I mentioned before this idea of implementing small changes frequently. So, I think many of us will know that this idea of weekly or monthly releases they're over, right? We are now delivering software incredibly fast. So, for example, in Macquarie, we are delivering in our digital stack, and we're doing in the order of 100 releases per day into our digital environments. And so, as I said before, to be able to move with that kind of velocity and be that responsive to our customers, you need really, really good intelligence around your environment to be able to do that. And so this has been an important part of why continuous intelligence is important for us. The other thing I wanted to briefly touch on here as well is around our experimentation platform. So we didn't just want intelligence around our production experience, where we've got over 1 million customers using our platform on a regular basis, but we also wanted to have intelligence around our lab and beta, or our dark launch environments. So this is where we're taking new features and functionality. We have an invitation program where we bring people into these lab and beta environments, and we have the same level of intelligence around those lab and beta environments that we have around production. And so that means that even at those very early stages of software development, where we're piloting or trialing new features and functionality, we're able to get really good intelligence around, is that working, is that not working, what's the customer experience? And so that experimentation platform has been really important for us as well. So taking a step back, what does that look like for us? So it means we've been on quite a journey over the last 6 years. We've moved from this sort of sequential feature development to being exponentially faster in the way that we deliver software. We've moved all of our digital services onto microservices. We've done that several years ago. We've got that experimentation platform, which allows us to move quickly and get new features out to customers fast. We're well progressed on our public cloud journey. So we are over 3/4 of all of our infrastructure is now on public cloud, and we will be 100% public cloud within the next 18 months, which is very rare for an organization of our size. And we're also multi-cloud. So we have a really good relationship with AWS and with Google Cloud and a range of other SaaS providers. And so we're now at a point where we're actually leveraging and harnessing the power of that multi-cloud environment to deliver awesome digital experiences. So that's a bit of a summary of sort of why continuous intelligence has been really important for us at Macquarie. But now what I wanted to do is go into a bit more detail and talk about how we've done this and the journey that we've gone through. So one of the things that's really important, I think Bruno had a similar slide around this, is the complexity of our environments has grown exponentially. So this particular picture is actually a grossly oversimplified picture, but it was as many boxes as we could fit on the slide while still making it readable. And this is for one customer request to get their balance, how many layers of infrastructure or application technology needs to work in harmony for that request to succeed, for one customer, for one request. So we've got WAFs, we've got load balancers, API gateways, container platforms, integration platforms, core banking systems, databases, other APIs. And when you multiply this by 1.6 million customers, multiply it by prod, by lab, by beta, multiply it by all the different systems and products that we have. So it's not just online banking for retail customers, it's business banking customers, wealth customers. You can see very, very quickly, we end up with a huge amount of data and a huge amount of complexity. And so what we needed was an elastic store that could handle that level of data, and we could ingest all of those insights and data from all the different layers of the stack and bring that back into a central analytics and intelligence platform where we could start to derive insights from all of that data. And for us, that was Sumo Logic. So what does that look like in terms of our adoption journey? And once again, you'll notice here a bit more measure everything, our measure everything principle coming through. So we've seen really strong adoption of Sumo Logic within Macquarie. We've got data here going back to 2018, and we're seeing a 65% year-on-year growth rate in terms of adoption. So we're now at a point where, on a daily basis, we are ingesting over 460 gigabytes of logs into Sumo per day. And that's growing at a rate of around 130 gigabytes per day per year. So that ingest part is growing really, really fast. And also not just the ingest, but also the usage. So we're seeing really strong usage and adoption of the platform internally. We're now at a point where we've got, on a monthly basis, over 45,000 searches or inquiries coming through from our teams looking at the data. And for us, that growth is really exciting to see too. So both, not just the onboarding onto the platform, but also the usage of the platform, that adoption has been really, really strong for us. And what I can do is I can share with you a case study or a recent example of where Sumo Logic has really supported us in our digital aspirations. So this is actually quite a recent one. We've been on a journey, a multi-cloud journey, and one of the things we've been doing recently is moving a number of our digital services from, we run OpenShift on AWS, and we've been moving those into GKE, or Google Kubernetes Engine, running on Google Cloud. Excuse me. So this was a really important project for us to move a number of our services into Google Cloud. We had about 70 different microservices that were within the scope of this particular project, and those services collectively are processing in the order of 2,000 transactions per second. So high volume, critical digital assets, supporting that digital customer experience. And what the team were able to do is they were able to set up all of that ingest and telemetry from both the AWS and the Google Cloud environments, bring that back into some consolidated dashboards, and there's a screenshot here as an example, and use that intelligence and use those insights to manage that migration. So we're able to dynamically route traffic from one cloud environment to another in real time. And so we gradually had 10%, 20%, 30% traffic moving across into GKE. And that migration for us happened over the course of a week or two, and it was 100% smooth. There were no incidents, there were no issues. It was, in some respects, like we actually joke internally that it was a little bit anticlimactic because we'd done all of this work and it just clicked, it just happened. And for me, one of the main reasons that was so successful in our multi-cloud endeavor was the amount of telemetry and the amount of intelligence that we had around the platform while we were doing that migration. So I think that was a really good example for us of how Sumo Logic's helped us, support us in terms of our multi-cloud strategy. Now, I mentioned before this idea of measure everything as a principle, and I wanted to also talk about the sort of cultural transformation we've also had to go through here as well. So we wanted to make sure that this idea of measure everything wasn't just something that the tech teams or the engineering talked about, but we also wanted that to be a language that we shared with everyone across the entire business. And so we have a number of internal sort of collaboration and social media platforms. And what we do is we encourage all of our teams, no matter what field or role they're in, to take screenshots of data and interesting insights and to share that into those internal collaboration platforms. And we generate conversation around it. And we have all these hashtags. And here's an example of, someone shared some insights and the business coming in and saying, wow, that's awesome. I love this. I love what you're showing me here. Love measure everything. And so really encourage you in your own continuous intelligence journeys. Don't just focus on the tech, but also focus on that cultural journey around getting people excited and interested around data. We've also had to set up a number of internal, what we call production bridges, this idea we're bridging between people and teams and bringing people together. And so we have all these internal chat rooms where people can take screenshots or insights from the various Sumo Logic dashboards that they've developed and paste and share those into those chat rooms. Everyone's got access to that obviously on their mobile devices. As I said before, we're a 24/7 digital bank, so that constant and continuous nature of what we do is really important. But we've also been able to generate really great conversations, right? So the intelligence part for us is not just about having the dashboard, but it's also about sharing the insight from the dashboard and generating that conversation with all the people around, does this look right? Does this look wrong? What can we learn from the data? And so this idea of production bridges has also been a really important ingredient in our continuous intelligence journey. Another really cool thing we've done here as well is we actually did a whole bunch of integration work between Sumo Logic and Workplace by Facebook, which is one of our social media, internal social media or collaboration platforms. And so what we've done is we've actually done API integration to take the alerts and the insights that are being generated out of Sumo, and we actually get those posted directly into the chat channels. And so what we see, and you can see an example on the screen here, is that actually when the teams are discussing what's going on in our digital environment and what's happening with the customer experience, it's not just people taking screenshots and sharing what they're seeing. You also get bots who are taking insights directly out of the platform and telling the team what they see. And that is actually really, really powerful because you're not waiting for someone to see something. You're getting direct, real-time, actionable insights directly out of the platform in an automatic way, and everyone can see it, but then you can have an immediate conversation following it. Oh, what did the bot just say? What does that mean? Okay, that's interesting. Let's talk about it. Let's go back to the dashboard and investigate further. And so that Facebook integration, we actually won some awards from Facebook for this. We got demoed at a Facebook innovation conference and we won the innovation award on this particular integration that we did. But that's been also really powerful for us in terms of continuous integration, continuous intelligence. Another thing we've done here, which I wanted to share, is we also invested heavily in our physical environment. And so we got a whole range of TVs provisioned all around our offices in Sydney. And we got the teams to put up their dashboards on those screens. And not only did we do that, we then also booked what we called walk the floor sessions, where we got our C-suite executives or our senior business representatives, and we said to them, let's just go for, they booked an hour with them, let's go for a walk. So we met them at the cafe and we'd walk the floor and we'd stop at individual engineering teams and say, okay, tell us what's going on the screen. What does that spike mean? Why is that green or why is that red? And so that role modeling from our senior executives around that interest in data and looking at the insights and the intelligence that was being surfaced from the platform, that was also for us really powerful in how we've evolved on our continuous intelligence journey. The last thing I wanted to cover here is just around certification and training. So we have a really, really strong training and certification program at Macquarie. We allow all of our technology staff to choose a certification from a list of certifications twice per year, and we pay for them to get certified. And Sumo Logic is is part of that menu. We allow our engineers to choose to be certified in Sumo Logic. And so that investment in learning and getting those foundational skills cannot be understated. Here we have a couple of examples where we have lots of teams self-organizing cert jams. So this is like self-organizing study groups where they get everyone together, they do this, the training, they all get certified together. And here on the right-hand side, you can see one of our particular teams is 100% Sumo strong, meaning that the entire team got certified at the same time in Sumo Logic. And we, you can see I loved it, and everyone's high-fiving, and that really positive learning environment around growing your technical skills is a core part of our culture more generally, but it's also played into our Sumo Logic and continuous intelligence journey. So, there's a lot that we're doing at Macquarie. Too much to go into in this particular webinar. What I would encourage you to do is take a look at our engineering blog. So you can search for this. It's on Medium. Just search for Macquarie engineering blog, and we've got a whole heap of different articles that are shared here from our engineers. And we've got videos of us talking at conferences, and probably this particular video might go up there soon as well. And so that that's a really good way if you're interested in learning more about what we're doing around continuous intelligence or more anything to do with engineering and technology. Please take a look at that. It's available to everyone. So that's all from me. I'm really happy to take questions from anyone.
Yeah. So thanks, Matthew. That was really, really interesting. I mean, a lot of the stuff I didn't even know, and even we've spent a bit of time together, myself and Macquarie as a whole. So I found that really interesting. So as I said off the top, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box. We've got a couple just to kick off. So I guess, how do you use intelligence to drive actionable insights? Can you sort of dig into that in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, happy to. So this idea of actionable insights is really important, isn't it? Because we're moving away from this idea that you have reports or you have dashboards and you need to sort of look at the dashboard or look at the start of day report to know what's going on. And we're getting much, much more to that real-time kind of end of the spectrum. And so one of the things that's been really important for us is that you saw that integration that we built in terms of linking the intelligence and the insights that we're getting out of Sumo and pushing that into those chat groups or those chat channels. And that for us means that we have an internal principle, which is every alert should be actionable. So if that bot is pushing some data into a chat group, it needs to be a reason for that. Like so what we wanted to do is avoid having sort of lots of noise. If you start spending lots and lots of chat messages from the bot automatically, people start to stop paying attention because they get inundated. So we have that every alert should be actionable rule. And what that means then is that to the question, how do you drive actionable insights? Every automatic notification that's coming through that integration from Sumo back into our chat and collaboration platforms, it's actionable by definition, and the team will call it out if it's not. They'll say, wait a second, why did the bot send me something when I can't do anything about it? We should tune that, or we should change it, change the settings so that's more actionable. So that's, I think that's been a really important part of our sort of culture around having that integration and automation around real-time insights, but also having this sort of rule that says when we have an insight, it has to be actionable. That is the rule that we all uphold. And also for our own sanity, right? We also want to make sure that when we're getting that ding on our Apple Watch and our phone and all the devices, that it's something important, right? Something that we need to look at. So that's how we're sort of using intelligence to drive actionable insights.
Yeah, sure. We've got another question that's just come through. So why did you choose multi-cloud as a strategy instead of single cloud? And if you can, or if you're able to, a couple of the reasons for the migration between AWS and GKE?
Yeah, it's probably a whole separate sort of webinar we could do on all of that. We've had we've been using Google Cloud for a while now. We have a long-standing relationship with AWS, and what we're seeing is that we want to have optionality for our engineers. So we know that we want to be able to pick up services from either cloud provider and have that optionality. It also gives us some options around things like resilience as well. So there's many benefits around that. I think we're seeing this as a broad industry trend, and so we've been investing in that for quite a while. And that example I shared earlier was just one of many where we're starting to move much more into that multi-cloud environment.
Yep, Sure. It's always an interesting topic, and we probably could speak for the rest of the day, but unfortunately we don't have that much time. And I'm wondering, how are you using the continuous intelligence to drive or enhance, the customer experience, obviously being a highly competitive market and especially digital banking over the last 12 to 18 months? How are you leveraging continuous intelligence to make sure that customer is getting the optimal experience?
Yeah, really good question. So one of the things that we've done here is that we actually built what's called an EUM or RUM framework, or end user monitoring framework, which sits right at the edge of right at the customer experience. So this is some JavaScript and some technology that we run on the browser or on the mobile device that is giving us insights in real time around what the customer experience actually is. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it, how long is it? What sort of things are they doing with the platform? And so that visibility of the customer experience all the way to that sort of device at the edge is really allowing us to get some really interesting insights around the customer experience. And then we can be really focused on fixing things or improving things where we see that they're not right. So I think that, our DevOps principle, as I've said before, is measure everything. Well, we are measuring, not just measuring all the stuff in the sort of on the Macquarie side in terms of technology, we're actually measuring the customer experience itself. And all of our engineers and all of our product teams look at that on a regular basis and try and interpret the data and see what's going on. So that's been really useful for us.
Yeah, sure. And we're sort of coming to the close part, but I'll get one more question in, which is a little bit self-fulfilling. How else do you see Sumo helping to drive that continuous intelligence journey that you're on?
Yeah, there's a few other things that we're still got a long way to go. I think we have this sort of internal saying that we borrowed from Facebook, that we're always 1% done. There's always more to do. There's more insights, more things that we can identify. Some areas that we're looking at more closely now is around, Bruno mentioned this earlier, is more around our software delivery tooling itself. So a lot of what I've talked about today is around the digital experience and the customer experience and the production and the sort of non-production environments. But we also want to start to go all the way back up into our tickets and our features and our lead times and the DORA metrics around lead time and deployment frequency, and seeing how we can bring all of the data that we have from tools like Jira and those sorts of things into the continuous intelligence platform as well, which is going to give us really rich insights into not just what the customer sees and their experience at that end, but also the engineer experience or the developer experience, and get really precise and methodical around how we measure that. So that's one really interesting area that we're starting to focus on now. Yeah,
sure. And I know I said that was probably the last one, but this is quite an interesting one. Just the last question. We'll make this the last question. So thank you everybody who submitted questions. With the transition from looking at dashboards to real-time alerting and analysis, has there been any challenges getting getting it as real-time as possible from a Sumo perspective, or is there challenges trying to achieve alerting monitoring on 5 minutes, 15 minutes, etc.?
So there's a few things here. The integration itself is real time. So we've got that API integration done really nicely so that there is no delay in terms of those insights coming through. But one of the things that you also need to do in that digital environment is you need to get a decent enough sample size to be able to generate an insight. And so this is one of these there's a lot of this in that sort of SRE handbook, and you can go into it in a lot more detail, is sort of figuring out how long do you wait before you say something doesn't look right? Is it 10 seconds? Is it 30 seconds? Is it a minute? And getting, is it 5 minutes? And so I think there's always tuning that goes on there in terms of figuring out what that sort of minimum threshold is in terms of generating an insight. And it largely depends as well on the thing that you're looking at as well. Some things are very fast moving, some things are a bit more slow moving. So you can afford to have half an hour or an hour or whatever it might be as your sample size for that insight. But yeah, a good question.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think we've gone slightly over, but I really appreciate yours and Bruno's time. And I mean, speaking personally, I found that extremely interesting, and sort of pretty blown away by a lot of the things you're doing. Even I thought I knew the majority of what you were doing, but I clearly only had a small percentage of knowledge about what you're doing. So really appreciate your time. Thank you to the both of you. I hope that everybody on this webinar got as much value out of it as I did, hopefully more. And yeah, thank you again.
Thanks, Sam.
Matt.
Thanks, Bruno.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep, enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
for joining.
Bye-bye.